This live episode of Rants. It's a strange one really, because we just breaking news in the last 10-15 minutes. Tottenham Hotspur and Mauricio Pochettino have parted ways. Yes, you heard that right. They've actually parted ways. I'm not quite sure if Poch has been fired or because whether they'll say mutual decision, between both parties, and it's hard to say really, because right now it just seems a strange time for the manager to leave. Everyone was talking about the fact that he's on £8.5 million a year, and he's still got 3.5 years left to go. So that's a compensation around about 30 odd million right there, and it's right in the middle of the international break. I mean, if we were going to make a change like this, of this magnitude, then surely either before the start of the season, at the end of last season, the last international break, I have no idea, but the timing is just a bit off really. And I suppose it does kind of back up the stories that we can kind of hearing about Pochettino being on the verge of losing his job, and Mourinho. That's probably the thing, isn't it? I mean, who's going to be the guy to come in at this short notice when the January transfer windows is still a good 6 weeks away, and you can't ignore the stories in the press. It must be Mourinho's about to take over. He's the only one who's available. Massimiliano Allegri's still taking his sabbatical. So who's there? I mean, it's just an odd time to sack a manager, or for a manager to resign. I'm sure he was probably sacked. And I know the form has not been good. Yes, let's get that out of the way. The form has been kind of poor, and it just seems that the players are not responding to the manager. And I say that because of the great victory we had against Crvena Zvezda out in Belgrade. I know it was Crvena Zvezda, but at the same time, we can only beat what's in front of you, and we beat them quite well. And then we sort of keep the same side, don't we? I know we changed the fullbacks, I'm not quite sure why. And then it resulted in such a tepid, poor performance against Sheffield United, where Sheffield United should have won, and actually could have won. But it just really mixed, really, and it's kind of hard to fathom and understand why now. It's just literally, that's the issue. Why
attention
now?
Please.
Excuse my phone there, it's trying to grab my attention. But it is odd. It is really odd. And so after 12 games of the new season, where the players are the issue really, is the manager that cops it. And at a point now where you have to say that he has worked miracles. He's done a job that most other managers in this modern day and age would find impossible to, because they will need the money to back them up. And I know that he's had a few players in this past summer, but last season nothing. Whether that was down to him or whether that was down to the chairman, I have no idea. Well, all we know is that no players came in, and we got to the Champions League final. And now we know that there's 5 players there that he at the club, and he and Pochettino actively tried to sell on, but couldn't find buyers for him. Eric said, "I'm looking at you for one." And it is kind of it's just an odd situation, really. It really is an odd situation, and again, the manager cops it for the players putting in shoddy performances, and that's the issue right there. So, I know it's I'm just discombobulated, I can't get the words out. We were going to do a episode of Rants tonight, which was going to be airing tomorrow, talking about the the Spurs ladies and how well done. But I think this is going to be big news for a little while to come. And uh, it's just hard to say. It's just hard to say how we're going to sort this out now. I mean, I assume there is a manager in place that's going to come in and take charge of the players before before that game against West Ham on Sunday. It's a game that I'm not going to, but now I wish I was, because there's going to be a lot of vented feelings there, frustration and that there. A lot of the booing you hear at the stadium, at the home games, they weren't directed at Pochettino for the most part. I know there was a few Poch out people there, and obviously in the group, as you've seen, there are a couple of people saying they want Poch out. I'm sure they're happy. I'm sure they got the wish. Be careful what you wish for, is what I say. My issue was always to do with the players. Always with the players. I always thought it was the players that were the problem, because they were just downing tools. 4 or 5 players in particular who openly said that they wanted to leave, and that they are putting in shoddy performances. I'm looking at you, Aurier, and you just kind of wonder. If those players had been moved on, if we got in the players that we should have got in. Again, we only brought in about 4, well 3.5 I should say, because one's out on loan, and we kept players that didn't want to be there, and that is the issue right there. That is the issue, and now we find ourselves, I know, just a few points above the relegation zone, and it is a poor state of affairs. But I would have kind of hoped that at the board, that the chairman and the management sat down, looked at it, and thought, we know where the problem is, and well, this is probably the hardest. There's a lot of controversy when Harry Redknapp was sacked. As you probably know, I was happy. I know people were talking about, oh, his head was turned to England. His head was turned a long time before the England thing happened. And so when he was out there talking about that, this is as good as it gets, when he was finishing 4th but being pipped or whatever by Chelsea, I mean, he didn't even try to win a trophy or whatnot. I was happy he was gone. This does not compare. This does not compare at all. Pochettino is actually probably, outside of Yol, was probably the first manager to get me really excited about Spurs again. I thought we were actually going to go out there and achieve something, and we were what? Say for the first 27 seconds, we almost got it in Madrid a few months ago, 5-6 months ago. And we also missed out on a trophy with in the Carling Cup as well, didn't we? In his first season, lost to Chelsea in the final 2-0. You may remember. And we got close. Numerous semi-finals under Pochettino. Are we going to get that again? It all depends on who we're going to bring in. And the bookie's favourite seems to be Jose Mourinho right now. All I can say is that managers like Mourinho, like Allegri, they need money to perform. So if you're going to bring in Mourinho, if that's what the plan is, you're going to bring in Jose Mourinho, how can you justify giving him? Because he's going to need money. And he complained when Manchester United only spent £300 million. So you can imagine, if he's going to ask for £300 million to build his utopia at Tottenham, you have to wonder why a man like Pochettino, who took us to the Champions League final, took us to the League Cup final, took us to the FA Cup semi-final, took us to another League Cup semi-final, took us to 2nd in the table, took us to 3rd in the table, just narrowly missing out the title on those 2 occasions. You have to kind of wonder why he was not given those kind of funds, why he was not given £300 million to build his squad. I know he can work on a shoestring. He's done it at all his other clubs, and I know he's not that fussed about having tons of money. But at the same time, if he had that kind of cash to spend, who knows where he would have taken us. And that's the bit that galls me right now. That's a bit that kind of is got right there, you know what I'm saying? And you just got to think that if Mourinho is the guy that comes in, why would he suddenly be given that kind of cash? If all this time we were saying that we don't have that kind of cash. That's a bit that's going to gall me, really. And if that's a bit, and then that happens, you have to kind of wonder what is going on further up. You have to wonder what's going on at chairman level, at board level. What conversations are they having up there? And why is it that they couldn't give that kind of backing to the one guy who's taken us further, or further than we have been in the last 20 odd years? Probably the best manager we've had since Keith Birkinshaw in the 80s. I'd put him up there that highly, quite easily. It's just a bit of a shock, really. There's just a shock of how it's all come out, really. But you have to kind of wonder now, what is Levy's next move? Because now the eyes will be on him. They will be on him, simply because he's made this move now at a very weird time at this point in the season. So all eyes will be on him. And I've never been one of those Levy out people. I've never been one of those who questions, or who just constantly questions Levy. He had a rocky start when he got rid of Yol in the worst manner possible at half time during a match. He's kind of built bridges since then. He's got us to where we are. Magnificent training complex, brilliant stadium. He's got that. But it's a playing side that interested me more than a new stadium. Even when it was talk about it, I was that fussed about it. I just wanted the investment to go into the team. I wanted to challenge the likes of Chelsea. I wanted to challenge the likes of Manchester City, of Manchester United, Arsenal, Liverpool. How far ahead were we of Liverpool? Just a couple of seasons ago, and now look where they are. All we had to do was get a couple more players in. When we were up there, when we were finishing second, we should have rotated the players. We should have got moved on a couple of them and brought in some fresh faces, and it helped. And then it would have helped challenge the following season. We could have been Premier League champions in the last couple of seasons if we had the right investment. But then, following that, literally nothing. And here we are, doing the same thing again. It's the same old goddamn dance that we're doing, isn't it? Same old song and dance. And that's the bit that's got me, really. Well, tell us what you think. It's open forum. But that's the big news right there. About half an hour ago, news broke through that Spurs have sacked Mauricio Pochettino. He's gone. Now what? Where do we go from here? Let us know. But it's been hard supporting Spurs the last few weeks, really. But this is just taking it to a new level. But, always Tottenham until I die, you know that. But what can we do? Anyway, let us know. What do you think will happen? What do you want to see happen? Who really should be getting the blame for all of this? You let us know. Okay. So it's from me, Chris Andrew. Come on, you Spurs. I guess.